Hello everyone! Welcome po ulit sa ating Math Isip YouTube channel. And in today's lesson, we are going to discuss about Graphical Representation of Data Part 1. Ang pag-aaralan po natin ngayon ay about sa pie graph and bar graph. And before that, let me just thank our subscribers for always supporting our program. At kung hindi pa po kayo nakakapag-subscribe, I encourage you to click subscribe and click the notification bell para po updated tayo sa mga bagong lessons. I also want to thank our fellow teachers for always sharing and supporting our video lessons. Malaking bagay po ito para sa ating mga learners na nahihirapan sa math. And if you want to avail of our PowerPoint files and products, you can just click the link in the description and in the comment section. Alright, so without further ado, let's now proceed with our lesson. Okay, so these are now our objectives for our lesson today. At the end of the lesson, the learners will be able to use appropriate graphs to represent organized data like pie graph and bar graph. Also, they will be able to interpret statistical graphs. Okay? So, i-review po muna natin yung lesson natin previously on frequency distribution table or what we call the FDT. Dito, napag-aralan natin, there are two types of FDT. One is for ungrouped data and the other one is for group data. By the way, kung hindi nyo pa po napapanood itong frequency distribution table na lesson natin previously, it would be better for you to watch it first before you proceed to the graphs. Okay, ano pa po? We also learned about the extended type of FDT wherein kinumpute po natin yung relative frequency ng mga categories natin. Okay, and we also have the percentage. So magagamit po natin itong FDT na ito for our first discussion of our first graph, which is the pie graph. Alright, so let's proceed now to the definition of pie graph. Ano po itong pie graph? Okay, so a pie graph or a pie chart is a circular chart divided into slices, where each slice represents a proportion or percentage of the total. Kaya po yan tinawag na pie chart kasi nga po katulad ng isang pie wherein we have a slices or this slice represents a portion of the whole, no? And if we have here our pie graph, we call it sectors in geometry. Okay, sector po ang tawag natin dyan. So here there are three slices or three sectors. It represents the division of the entire population. Kaya it is often used for categorical data. No? What else? Most effective for fewer data types or categories. Kung masyado na pong madami yung slices, hindi na po masyadong effective. Ano pa po? It's used to emphasize how a part contributes to the total. Okay, yun po yung number one na gamit ng pie graph. Meron pong relasyon yung bawat slice sa buong population or yung kabuuan po ng ating data. So how do we construct a pie graph? Okay, let's have here an example. Ito po yung ginamit natin in our previous lesson on frequency distribution table. We have here the favorite Filipino snack survey in a class of 15 students. So we have here the frequency, 3, 4, 7, and 1. We have here the category. Ito po yung mga favorite Filipino snacks like chicharon, taho, banana Q, and puto. And we have here the relative frequency as well as with the percentage. So we have a few steps. Una, determine the central angles of each slices or sector. So may kinalaman po talaga yung lesson nyo on geometry kung paano po tayo mag-identify ng angles. Okay, so how do we determine the angle? We can actually have an additional column here at tawagin nating angle of the sector. Wherein, we can write here the relative frequency times 360 degrees. Ano po itong 360 degrees na ito? Remember, if we're going to add all the central angles in a circle, ang magiging total niya po ay 360 degrees. Or ito na po yung tinatawag nating full rotation. Therefore, if we multiply 0.2 or 0.20 times 360, we will get 72 degrees. Yun po yung 20%. Yun po yung angle ng 20%. Next one, we have here 0.27. Multiply lang natin ulit sa 360. We will get 97.2 degrees. and then followed by 0.47 times 360, 169.2 degrees. And then we have 0.06 times 360, we will get 21.6 degrees. Now that we have all the angles here, we are now ready to proceed to step 2, which is to draw the pie graph with the slices. So, paano po ulit tayo mag-drawing ng circle? We can use the compass, no? Para po sure na circle siya. And we have to know, or we have to identify kung nasaan yung center. Mahalaga po yan. Whenever we are drawing a circle using a compass, dapat visible po yung ating center. And we can create a line, no? Ito po yung magiging initial na side natin in order for us to get the angles. Okay, now, in measuring the angle, of course, we will be using a protractor, no? And using your protractor, you first get 72 degrees angle. So, we can have markings. Alin po dito yung gagamitin natin? Of course, yung nandito po sa outer portion. So 70 degrees dito po, we can make use of a pencil to mark it down, 72 degrees. And then tanggalin natin yung protractor. We can now connect these 2 points using a line segment. And then ganun din po ulit sa susunod. We now get 97.2 degrees for the second category. We make use again of our protractor. And then i-mark lang natin kung nasaan dito yung ating 97.2. Therefore, yan ang ating marking. Tanggalin ang protractor, then we can connect again these 2 points. Hanggang sa matapos po natin siya. And then, yun na po yung ating angles. Okay, we have here 169.2 degrees naman po ito. Okay, now that we have all these slices or the angles formed, we can now proceed sa atin pong step 3, which is to label and color the slices. Okay, so we can actually use different kinds of colors for every category. And of course, we can also write here the labels. Mahalaga po itong labels para po mas maging effective yung atin pong pie chart. So we have the first category here. We have the chicharon 20%, and this is the angle form of the sector. Taho 27%, banana Q 47%, and puto for 6%. Ito na po yung pag-construct natin ng pie chart. Okay, let's now proceed sa interpretation of a pie chart or pie graph. So how do we interpret a pie graph? We have here an exercise where we can answer this together. I'm going to post some questions here, and you are welcome to pause this video anytime para po makapag-isip din kayo ng inyong sagot and then compare it with our answer. Alright, so we have here a pie chart on the left. This is a monthly expenses of a household. So this is a very simplified version. We have here the different slices. And our question will be, the first one, what is the largest expense for the household? Okay, so we have food, which is 50%, utilities, which is 20%, transportation, 15%, and others, 15%. So obviously, ang sagot po natin dito ay food with 50%. Next question. If the total monthly income is 20,000 pesos, how much is spent on utilities? Okay, so paano po yan? Okay, our answer is you just divide 20 by 100. Utilities has 20%, i-divide lang po natin sa 100 yan. Kasi yun po yung kabuuan niya, 100%. And then multiply natin sa 20,000. Magkano po yun? It will be 4,000 pesos. Okay, next question. Question number 3. What percentage of the income is spent on transportation and others combined? Okay, we have here transportation, which is 15%, and then others, which is 15%. I-add lang po natin yan, we will get 30%. Okay, question number 4 is, if the family wants to reduce spending on food to 40%, how much money would be saved? Okay? So kung magtitipid sila sa pagkain, gagawin nilang 40% ito, magkano kaya ang masisave nila? Again, this is still related po sa given in question number 1, wherein the monthly income is 20,000 pesos. So kung 20,000 pesos yung income, magkano kaya ang matitipid nila? First, you can subtract muna 50% minus yung atin pong natipid, which is 40%. Okay? Magiging 10% po yan. I-multiply natin yung 10% na yon sa atin pong monthly income, which is 20,000 pesos. And our answer will be 2,000 pesos. Yun po yung magiging equivalent nung 10% na naiwan dito. Magiging part na po siya ng savings. Okay, just to give you more information about pie graph para po mas madami po kayong maintindihan dito po sa ating lesson. We have here a few tips in creating a pie graph. Halimbawa po ito, we have to limit the number of pie slices. Okay? So here, as you can see, masyado nang madami. In this example, masyado nang madami yung kanyang categories at masyado pang maliliit yung kanyang values. Kaya hindi na po siya maintindihan. Hindi po siya effective. So it would be better to use pie graph for minimal categories only. Unlike here, napakadami. Ito, ilan lang po? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And mas maganda po siyang tignan. Another tip is, do not have distorting effects. Avoid distorting effects. Okay, katulad po nito, nakaseparate na yung isang slice. And what else? Nagmumukha na din siyang 3D. So it is advisable to keep it as simple as 2-dimensional pie graph lang po. What else? Here, don't fit data that does not represent parts to whole comparison. Katulad po nito. What apps do user use each week? Okay, we have sound, images, video, text, and if we're going to combine all this, magiging higit na po siya sa 100%. Bakit? Because if we are using one app sa isang linggo, we can actually use another one simultaneously, no? So hindi po siya pwedeng gawing pie graph kasi sabay po yan, no? And magiging more than 100% na po yung ating value. Okay, and lastly, we have here another type of pie chart na kung tawagin natin ay donut plot. Okay, ano po ito? This is also a type of pie graph pero nga lang yung kanyang gitna ay natanggal. So, central circle is removed. Bakit po ito ganyan? Usually, it's for aesthetic purpose. Meron din naman po siyang mga slices or portions. Pero yung gitna, usually ginagamit yan to write the title of the pie graph or the donut plot. Okay? So all these are more information about pie graph. Okay, for our next graph, we now have here the bar graph. So what is the definition of bar graph? Okay, well, a bar graph uses rectangular bars to represent data. The height or the length of the bar corresponds to the data value, making it easy to compare categories. Okay, so ito po yung itsura ng bar graph natin. As you can see, we have here two lines. Ito pong ating vertical lines, ang tawag po natin dyan ay y-axis at ito pong horizontal line natin, ang tawag po natin dyan ay x-axis. Okay? Itong horizontal axis represents yung category or groups, no? And then yung atin pong y-axis, it represents the numerical values or yung tinatawag nating frequency. Okay, saan po ginagamit ang bar graph? This work best for discrete categories like for example months, products, survey responses. Ayun po ano. Ano pa po? It's clear comparison between different data sets. Mas magiging effective po ito in comparing one set from another, no? Mas makikita mo na meron silang differences sa isa't isa. What else? It's easy to read and interpret. Okay? So let's now proceed kung paano po gumawa ng bar graph. Okay, so let's try to construct a bar graph using this example. We have here the situation, the data on the amount of time a student spent on various app activities in a day. So meron na po tayo ditong frequency distribution table. We have the first column is the category or the app activities here. And then we have the second column is the screen time or the frequency, which is the number of hours spent on the screen. So social media is 3.5 hours, streaming is 2, games is 1.5 hours, education 2.5, and messaging is 1 hour. So how do we present this using a bar graph? Ganito po yan. We have here a first step. We will set up the axis, okay, or axis in plural form. So ano po yung mga axis natin? We have the x-axis and then we have the y-axis. Okay, ulitin ko po, yung horizontal, ano pong tawag? X-axis. Yung vertical, ano pong tawag? Y-axis. Okay, we have now here number 2, add the titles and labels. Okay, add lang po natin yung title natin, daily screen time usage by app. Ano po yung ating y-axis? It's the screen time or the number of hours. Ano po yung x-axis natin? It's the app activity. So, paano po natin nalaman na dito natin ilalagay si app activity at saka dito naman si screen time? Remember, sa x-axis dito natin nilalagay yung category. Okay, ito po yung category. And then dito sa y-axis, dito natin nilalagay yung frequency. Ito na po yung frequency natin. Okay? So, let's now put on the scales and range of the numerical axis. Usually, we try to make the scales even, no? Dapat po as even as possible po 'yan. Okay, wala pong mas maliit, wala pong mas malaki yung gap. Okay? And paano po natin nalalaman kung ilan yung scale na ilalagay natin diyan? We have to look at the data. Ano po ang range niya? Ano po yung pinakamaliit na frequency? Ano po yung pinakamataas na frequency? So here we have 0.5. So, pwede natin tong gawing by 0.5 ang scale. So, we can start with 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, 4.5, and we have 4.0. Okay? So, let's see. We have here also the categories. So, ang una dyan is yung social media, streaming, games, education, and messaging. And if we are done with the ranges and the scales of the numerical axis and even the categorical axis, we can now proceed sa drawing of the bars. So, drawing na po natin. First, we have social media, 3.5. Asan po yung tapat? Nandito po yung end ng ating bar. Diyan po natin ilalagay yung first bar. Second bar is streaming, 2. So, ang frequency natin is until here. Now, we have this bar. Next, games is 1.5. Hanapin lang po yung tapat ng 1.5. There you go. Education and messaging. Okay, ito na po yung ating bar graph. As you can see, meron pong spaces in between, no? Yan po ang bar graph. Okay, now let's interpret a bar graph using this exercise. I have here a bar graph here on the left, and I'm going to present again series of questions. You can pause this anytime so that you can also think of your own answer. Ano? So first question here is, which food item was sold the most? Okay, again, take a look at our bar graph. Ito po yung mga popular food items sold at a food stall. Okay, andito po yung ating category. Merong fried chicken, burgers, spaghetti, lumpia, and halo-halo. And we have here the frequency. These are now the number of units sold. Kung ilang piraso po yung nabenta. Okay, now which food item was sold the most? Syempre yung pinakamataas po ang kanyang bar, which is fried chicken, amounting to 50 units. Okay, the fried chicken with 50 units sold. Okay, next, let's proceed sa atin pong question number 2. What is the total number of food items sold? Okay, so ang tinatanong po dito is yung total na nabenta. Okay, we have here this fried chicken, which is 50, burgers is 30, spaghetti 40, and then lumpia, gitna po ng 30 tsaka 40. So, this is probably 35. And then we have here halo-halo. This is probably 25. So, anong gagawin po sa lahat ng yan? All we have to do is to add all those numbers. Then, our answer will be 180 units. Okay, yun po yung total number of food items sold. Okay, for question number 3, we have here, if the food stall wants to increase sales of halo-halo, what strategies might they use based on the data? Okay, so kung nagtataka kayo bakit ganito yung questions, Now remember, in interpreting data, hindi lang po sana yung surface level lang ang tinitignan natin. Kasi usually, ang ini-interpret natin sa bar graph is kung ano yung pinakamataas, which is here, in this case, fried chicken, at ano yung pinakamababa. In this case, it's the halo-halo. Now, the most important question here is ano yung gagawin natin basing sa results ng data. Kaya ganito po yung question dyan. Kung yung halo-halo is mababa, anong strategy ang gagamitin nila para mas ma-improve yung data, no? Yun po yung mahalaga when it comes to interpreting data, no? So there are many possible answers here na pwede nating isipin, no? One is they could promote halo-halo with discounts, add more toppings, or emphasize it as a refreshing dessert for hot days to attract customers. Isa lang ito sa mga possible na sagot natin. So again, in interpreting data, we tend to think of possible solutions to solve a problem. Just like what we learned about the importance of data, mahalaga ang data para mas makaisip tayo ng solusyon sa mga problems. Okay? Let's proceed to question number 4. Again, this is another type of questions where we need to think critically. Sabi dito, what might explain why fried chicken is the most popular item? No? Kanina nasagot natin ang fried chicken is the highest one with 50 units sold. Okay? Now, bakit kaya yun yung number 1 na nabibenta? One possible answer for this is it could be due to its universal appeal, affordability, or popularity as a quick meal choice compared to other items. Okay? So, yun po yung pwedeng isa sa mga possible na sagot dito, no? Now, again, these are good questions to ask in interpreting this data, no? Kasi kung ikaw yung owner ng food stall at alam mo na mabenta yung isang food, then dito ka na magfo-focus, no? Ito yung gagamitin mo para mas makapagbenta ka pa ng mas madami. Alright? So, that's the importance of interpreting data. Okay, to give you additional information on bar graph, we have here some tips in creating a bar graph. Alright, spacing between bars should be proportional to the size of a bar. Katulad po dito, this is a good example kasi yung spacing po niya ay pare-parehas, pantay-pantay po, no? And then the bars also have the same width. Okay, pare-parehas din po ang sukat. Unlike here, yung atin pong gap in between the bars, napakaluwang po. Tapos yung bars po natin, napakapayat na po siya. So, hindi na po siya magandang tignan. Another tip is be consistent and use defined colors. Just like here, magkakaiba po yung kulay dito. 2007 quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, tas iba na naman po yung quarter 1 ng 2018. Unlike here, dalawang kulay lang ang ginamit. Naging useful po yung colors dito kasi as you can see, yung year 2017, kulay blue lang siya. While nung 2018, nag-iba na po, naging orange na siya. Okay? So, as minimalist as possible, mas maganda po in creating a bar graph. Next, bar graphs can be plotted vertically or horizontally. Okay, pwede pong ganito yung pagkakaayos. Naka-horizontal po siya. Andito po yung mga categories at andito po sa baba yung mga frequencies. Unlike sa normal na vertical siya, andito yung categories natin at andito yung frequency. Ngayon, kailan po ginagamit ang horizontal? Usually, ginagamit na itong horizontal kapag nominal or categorical data. Katulad po sa voting, no? Sa election. Kung madami po yung candidates, ginagamit po yung horizontal way of bar graph para po kahit na napakadami ng category, maganda pa rin siyang tignan. Kasi kapag vertical siya at napakadaming category, hindi na po effective. Lastly, we have what we call here another type of bar graph which we call histogram. No? Ano pong pinagkaiba? A bar graph is used to compare discrete or categorical variables in a graphical format, whereas a histogram depicts the frequency distribution of variables in a dataset. Kung ang bar chart po ay mayroong space in between, ang histogram naman po ay wala. No? Aside from that, these are 4 categories. Yung bar graph, para sa categorical data. For histogram, this is more on numeric ranges. So, class intervals na po ito, groupings na po siya. Kung ang bar graph, individual po yung mga categories, okay? Magkakaiba sila. For histogram, they are actually part of a whole. Okay, this now refers to the distribution. Iisang kwan lang po ito, buo. Na-divide lang siya into groups. Kaya ang tawag na po natin dito ay histogram chart. Okay, for the last part of our lesson, we have here an activity for you to practice. Okay, all you have to do is to read each situation below and choose the graph type that best represents the data. Justify your choice. I'm going to give you time. You can pause this video and then you can come back to compare your answers. Okay, I hope you are now ready. Let's now see the answers. Okay, the first one here is a toy store wants to compare the number of toy cars, dolls, puzzles, and board games sold last week. So ano po ang best dito? We can use a bar graph. Okay? Next one, a school cafeteria tracks the percentage of students who prefer different lunch options, rice meals, sandwiches, pasta, and salads. The correct answer is pie graph. Number 3, a monthly report shows how a family spends their income across different categories like food, rent, utilities, and savings. This is also pie graph. Number 4, a retailer analyzes the sales of different shoe brands in their store during a 1-month period to see which brand sold the most. The answer is bar graph. Okay, ito na po yung mga reasons. Ito na po yung justifications. If these are the same with your justifications or almost similar, then you got the correct answer. Okay, I hope meron po ulit kayong natutunan sa atin pong lesson ngayon. For our next lesson, it will be the graphical representation of data part 2. We will focus on line graph and stem and leaf plot. So I hope to see you again on the next video. For now, bye-bye muna tayo. God bless. Thank you for listening. See you on the next one. Kung meron kang natutunan sa video na ito, please click the subscribe button to support this channel para mas matulungan ulit kita sa mga susunod mo pang math lessons. Lagi mong tatandaan, ang math ay para sa lahat. At ako si Teacher Van, nagsasabing dito sa Math Isip, lamang ang nag-iisip. God bless and see you on the next video. Bye-bye.